So Jesus wrote in A Course in Miracles, anger is never justified. Well, Jesus, I've got a bone to pick with you. I disagree. And I have so much passion, so much red fire energy about how anger can be destructive, and it also can be a very positive, healing experience. And I've had several of those experiences. And so here's the way I understand it. I did A Course in Miracles for decades. When I let go of the commitment I had to it, I began to step back and see the blessings and the limitations of any spiritual path, any belief system. Even if it's a belief system to replace fear and guilt, it's still a certain structure that has limitations that A Course in Miracles would most definitely acknowledge. Very often it says, forget this course. It's not meant to be worshipped. It's not the next Bible. It's just a helpful tool until you have grown beyond it. So I want to talk about anger. It says, anger is never justified. Well, I certainly agree that attack is never justified. I would agree that righteousness, that the story the ego comes up with to make myself right and make other people wrong, that's not healthy. It's not justified. But let me explain it this way. I had a spiritual teacher in my 20s. Her name was Hilda Charlton. And she used to say that all human beings have strayed from God in one of two different directions. One of them was towards arrogance, and the other is towards unworthiness. And these are ego structures. You could say it's all the same thing. But for me, I definitely related more to unworthiness than arrogance, although I can go both ways. I'm ambidextrous at this point. But for a long period of time, I was keeping my light under a bushel, feeling inadequate, and feeling so unworthy that I felt like everything was my fault. Everything was me. It's about me being inadequate. And therefore, I didn't allow myself to experience anger because it was always my fault. It was never, so I experienced being intimidated by my mother until I was about 35 years old. I couldn't speak up to her. I couldn't let her know how the impact her criticism was having on me. And one day, I let her have it in Brooklyn blame, old-fashioned Brooklyn projectile vomiting of blame. And it felt really good. And she pretended to read a newspaper. Yeah, like it wasn't affecting her, but I used a lot of colorful words, and then I went away and came back a couple of days later, and there was a note for me. It said, Scott, I hear you. We need to talk. You talk, I'll listen. It was a miracle for her to have been opened up to a place of being willing to listen to my pain. It only could have happened if I shocked her with this side of myself that I had never felt before and she had never experienced before. So in a sense, she had more respect for me from that moment on. So I believe that anger can be valuable, especially for those of us who have unworthiness more than arrogance. And it's so freeing to discover these things on your own without adherence to a belief system like A Course in Miracles that says what's right, what's wrong, what's this, what's that. It lays it all out for you so you don't have to do any thinking it through for yourself. And that can be very valuable until it becomes another hindrance, another something that holds you back. So I actually had some conversations with Jesus about this particular subject. As you may have heard from other videos, I started to hear Jesus's voice when I was in my early 30s. And we had these casual conversations. And I asked him questions, why did you say blah, blah, blah? And in the Course in Miracles. And he said about anger, he said, well, first of all, you have to understand that the Course primarily came as an answer to a prayer that was given by Helen, the scribe of A Course in Miracles, Helen Schucman, and Bill Thetford. They had come together in prayer and said there must be a better way than what they've been doing. They had been squabbling, having power struggles, both of them so committed to being right. So he said a lot of the things in the Course in Miracles were really answers to their prayers, and they needed to hear that particular form of the universal curriculum. They were professors. They could only really understand something like this through intellectual dialogue and a course with lessons. That was their doing. They needed it that way. And they needed it spelled out in black and white. Anger is never justified. To an ego that loves being right and righteous and getting into fights, that is really a valuable thing that can stop you dead in your tracks and question all the stories you're telling that are making you right and another person wrong, creating the illusion of distance between two brothers or a brother and a sister or whatever. So he explained to me about how important it is to not read A Course in Miracles as if it's the gospel for everyone, but to see it as one form of a universal curriculum and to take the best and leave the rest, especially those of us who have developed an internal voice, who have listened to their own guidance system. You can't just create a Bible out of something outside of you when what is real and true and valuable is your inner compass. So I get angry. I consider it part of the human experience. I question the stories, but I let it flow through my body. I don't act it out. I don't, tell somebody off. I don't need to punish or attack anyone. But the anger sometimes is a really valuable learning experience. It tells me that I need to speak up more, that I need to be more careful with my boundaries, that in some way I am violating my integrity, my values, or my time by people pleasing, for instance. So anger comes up to give me a valuable message. And if I just push it down and say, oh, this is just my ego, I'm never going to get the message. I'm never going to move on and learn from this angel called anger, Archangel Anger. Thank you for listening. Please leave your comments, like and subscribe, or dislike and subscribe, or unsubscribe. Just do whatever the hell you want, because love is in the air. Take care.